All right, welcome back to another Window Chats with Robyn. We have Daniel today, and what's really exciting is Daniel is in another meeting, so he's going to hop on at some point. So I'm just going to rant and see how long this goes, and I might end up starting again, which is always fun. The thing about Instagram Live, as some of you may know, I have a love-hate relationship with it because the connection doesn't work, or my internet doesn't work, or, oh wait, this is when I want to put my audio in. Okay, oh wait, Instagram's still catching up. Let's see if the audio works. I have technical difficulties. And I have the ear pods in now because I'm fancy like that. And then I'll wait till someone I know comes on and they'll be like, Robyn, your audio is awesome. And then I just need a thumbs up. But there's also a delay in the comments, so I don't know if they're doing a thumbs up because they're just excited to be in this room with me, or if the sound is good. There's a lot going on in my head, and I'm glad I could share it with talking to myself. Oh yeah, I see my hubby. Okay, hey Micers, can you hear my sound? Just give me like a thumbs up. That'd be awesome. Thanks. So that was the first time for everything. I just got a phone call. That was fun. Now, so hopefully I'm not disturbed again. And that was the first for a phone call. Oh, I usually have do not disturb, but you know what? Lesson learned the hard way. So let's rant about Jeopardy. Yes, I did want to talk about Jeopardy. I was watching it last night. Shout out to Ken Jennings. I think he's doing a pretty good job. What I like about him is that I feel like he knows the answers, so he doesn't really need the cue cards, although they don't really show him not reading from the cue cards, so maybe he wasn't that smart to begin with. I don't know. I'm not sure. I have faith in him though. But the one thing I was thinking about Jeopardy the other day was when they write the final Jeopardy, what's very interesting to me is it's still, they write it down and they can't erase anything. That's a little weird. Why isn't there a reset button? I mean, I feel like technology has come such a long way that you should be able to erase and then rewrite it. But every time there's a final Jeopardy, you see them scratching it out. And what if they run out of space? I genuinely am concerned. So this is just my thought. If anyone has any thoughts about Jeopardy, Final Jeopardy, how we can improve the show. I think they're always trying to look for ways to do it better. Oh, thanks. Thanks for enjoying my ramblings. Because I enjoy talking to myself on a daily basis. But genuinely, I am curious. They have the special guest coming in, which could be cool. I like Ken. I vote for Ken. I think my vote is very important. Yeah. What did Robyn say about Jeopardy? Who should be the host? Well, that's why they pay me the big bucks, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing in my studio. Oh god, if Daniel doesn't come on soon, I'm gonna have to restart this because this is gonna get awkward. Let's see. Someone write a comment and I will discuss it. Oh yeah, actually, I'll do a shout out to Jen. I saw your morning chat. She does them at 9 a.m. It's Coffee Chats with Jen. It was early. I still watched it. And I enjoyed that. And she had dental surgery and she was pushing through. That is commitment. I have to give you mad props for that because I would not be on a live if I had dental surgery. Or, I mean, I say that, but if I booked something and it was really good and it paid well, yeah, I would do it. So, yeah, you know what? This is what us actors do. Yeah, it's all for the craft. It's for the love of the craft. Oh yeah, no problem, Jen. My pleasure. I enjoy watching. See, this is like actors supporting actors, people supporting people. It's a nice community we're building. Now, the question is, your mouth didn't fail you a couple of times. I understood pretty much everything. I think you were self-doubting yourself, and that is what I do all the time. Like, even though I'm starting this, I'm thinking, should I start? Should I wait for Daniel? Is he gonna come on? What if Daniel doesn't show up and I just end up talking about Daniel the whole time? I think that could be fun. So I have like a special guest, but they don't show up, and then I just talk about how I know them, and then it just saves time when they come in, if they come in at all. That could be a thing. Oh, I got a heart. Okay, I respect that. Or it could be a delayed heart because there's delays on comments. I don't know. So I'll just assume it was for the comment I just said, and I appreciate that. That could be cool. Okay, I'm making someone laugh. My husband has to listen to it because we're married. That's what happens when you get married, but no, I love him too, and he's in the other room and listening, and he's like, why do you do these all the time? And I'm like, I don't know, but he supports me, and I appreciate that. That's what marriage is all about, said Canadianism. Okay, if anyone can say that properly, kudos. You know what? No, I say Americans should get used to our Canadian accents. It's sorry and about, and that's how we say it. And that's fine. That's not going to make or break the role. That is my opinion. That is a thought. I just think we're getting a little too nitpicky about words, and then you get in your head, and then I see those lines and I go, regarding, I just kind of change the word, and that's probably not appreciated by the writer. So that could be why. Daniel's here. Oh, good. These rants were going terribly. Okay, let's invite Daniel. Yay! Oh, that was a weird yay. That was not good. All right, Daniel, send request. Here we go. Waiting. Oh, will he, won't he?
Hi.
I had a massive rant. It was terrible. So I'm glad that thank you for joining. It was getting really painful.
Sorry I'm late. Things kind of just ran a little hectic on my end.
So you are always trying to find work. I love it. You're like, okay, so I have your chat, but I have something before that. I'm like, when do you sleep? I don't know.
It's so funny because I think other people have said the same thing about me, but I actually take my sleep very seriously.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I make sure to get my actually the last week it has been rough on the sleep edge, but like in general I'm trying to get my 7-8 hours and so that I can do what I need to do for the remaining 16 hours in the day.
You have your really cool like a hipster hat going on. This is a cool look. Oh,
I appreciate it. It literally is just my hair is doing things in the wind today. I said fuck it and put on a hat. That's really all it is. But I also this is actually the first time I've ever gone live on Instagram before. So I was like, oh God, like I don't want my hair to do stuff, so again, throw on a hat. Yeah.
I would love, my husband's hair is really tall right now, and I'd love if my hair would just be out of the frame. So you just have my face and then my hair. I would enjoy that. I can't really spike it that way. But.
Depending on how this chat goes, maybe because now it's going to be very flat. So I'll take it off at some point. So I'll do the reveal.
Please keep your clothing on. Okay. This is an Instagram live.
Okay, cool. Cool. Oh, and we have the Woo Girl. Hi, Morgan. She's the best. Do you know Morgan?
I don't, but I saw the Woo Girl and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is a cool name.
Morgan is doing incredible things. You think I don't think that woman is easily, like, probably the hardest working woman I've ever met. She's doing incredible. We're working together on a couple projects, but like I don't know, Morgan, if you're still in the chat, put your website in the chat there. We'll shamelessly plug it, but she has some amazing products. Her story is amazing. And the products that she sells, like I know she sells like makeup, but they have like incredible names and they're all like, I don't know what the proper terms are, but like eco-friendly and not tested on animals and stuff like that. But the message she tries to send out with these products, I think is just so incredible and so gorgeous. So if you don't know Morgan Davidoff, follow her on Instagram, check out her website, The Woo Girl. There it is, www.leywoo.com. Check it out. She's amazing. She's
adorable. Oh, sorry. I have to remember to not talk while you're talking. I was commenting on how adorable that site is. Okay, Hearts.
Yeah.
That's a good name. I love this whole natural, like, be careful with what you put on your face and everything. This is funny. I ran into Lindsay August. Do you remember the Actors Playground?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I ran into her and she was promoting this good for your body, natural. And I thought, whoa, like, she's just so cool. Everyone, you are what you put on your body. Or yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's so interesting because like my little sister, shout out Eliza, she's so careful what she puts on her face, and like I know everyone has like different skin and everyone has different like sensitivities. Like for me, I remember when everyone like hits puberty and your skin starts to freak out, you do what your friends or what your family tells you to put on your face, and so I did, and that kind of worked. But then it wasn't until I was like 25 or 26, or however old I was doing a show in South Carolina, and there was this one of my cast members is this like beautiful Australian man, and he had like easily the most glowing skin I've ever seen. And I asked him, I was like, what do you do? How are you doing that? Because I was still like freaking out. My skin was freaking out. And he literally said, he was like, what do you use on your face? And I showed him like the products I was using. He's like, you need to use water, just water. And I didn't believe him. And then literally he's like, do it for 2 weeks. There were like 2 weeks left in the contract. So I was like, fine, what do I have to lose? He's like, what's going to happen is your skin's going to freak out for a week, and then it's going to clear up overnight, and you're never going to use another product ever again. And that's exactly what happened. It's crazy. Now, not everyone can do that because everyone has different skins, but he and I had very similar like skin tones and sensitivities and stuff. But yeah, it's like, it's so crazy how everyone is so specific about their regimen, but you got to do what's right for you.
I love that people have a regimen. I admire that because I'm like, I don't know, this is what I learned from someone, and then I kind of just do it. And now, like, you know, I'm older, I have to take care of myself, and everyone's doing these face routine. I tried to do face yoga. I was unsuccessful. It was very bad.
I'm sorry.
But it's face yoga. It was really interesting. And you like,
what is that?
And you do this whole thing. Yeah, I did. That's the first Instagram live I tried. And it was very interesting. I have a lot of tension in my jaw, but you have to take care of your face. And I guess that makes sense because this is what they cast you for. But it's a whole other realm of learning that I'm like, I don't know what I'm putting on my face.
What's up, Cross? Hey. My good friend David Cross. I don't know if you know.
I know a David Cross, but I think that was
Toronto Jewish community, so you know, who knows.
I had such a memory. I was meeting these people from Associated. Do you remember Associated? That was
throwback. Came
in, and we're taught, and it's so fascinating how you view yourself as a child to how people viewed you. And I'm like, what? It was like a couple nights ago, and I thought it was very mind-blowing because this is how people perceive you, and this is how I perceive myself. And I thought, oh, interesting. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. Makes you look like a crazy face yoga, crazy person. Yeah, it totally does. I mean, as a singer, we do a lot of exercises and we make some crazy noises. So is that Jenna? Is that how you pronounce it, Jenna? Jen?
Oh, it's Jen. Yeah, it's
Jen,
not Jennifer Gardner. I made that mistake.
That's okay. We'll just say Jen. But yeah, it definitely does make you look and feel like a crazy person. Oh, and apparently it's the same Cross.
I know. I'm so excited when I saw that. Okay.
Yeah, Dave Cross is a very good friend of mine. Dear friend. I love him.
I don't know the crossover. Did we just do elementary? Did we do middle school?
The crossover? That's what we're doing. Sorry, go for it. What was the crossover?
No, I get people confused. Where did I know them from elementary or middle school or high school or all? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you were in my sister's grade. You were a couple years ahead of me. So I didn't actually know about you until high school.
Oh, God.
Because I was in class with Jamie.
Classic. Shout out to my sister Jamie. Hey, Jamie. I don't think you're gonna watch this, but hi. Okay.
Whatever. Class with her, and like, I mean, Jamie was always so nice to me, which is like was rare for middle school and elementary. Like Jamie was consistently nice to me, but we were never like close. So I didn't know that she had siblings. And then I got to high school, and I think I was meeting Ariella, my older sister, outside of a class, and someone who I thought was Jamie walked out of her class, and I got really confused. And that's how, like, I don't think we ever like spoke in high school. And then we met years and years and years later. And it's just a fun little coincidence.
That meeting was amazing because I'm looking and I'm like, this guy looks exactly like Daniel Karp. And there's no way he's not acting. What is he doing here? It was, and I think it took me the entire a couple hours, whatever. And I just kept staring at him. Is that Daniel?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I made that, I would say transition into acting like midway through university. The only reason I hesitate to say that is because to say you're transitioning into something is suggesting that you were doing something before, and I wasn't really. I was very much in the process of just trying to figure out what I wanted, because I wanted to go to school. I knew that I wanted to go to school more so to figure out what I wanted to do than to just be an academic. Because I felt at that point, I think it's even more so true now, but I feel like at that point, you could get your undergrad anywhere. Like it didn't, like people like to talk about how their school is the best school and, you have more classes, go to this law school or that medical school, whatever. And that's true. But for your undergrad, it doesn't really matter. So I just know that I wanted that experience. And I found acting literally like I didn't do acting or really singing until like my third year of of university, and that's how I found it.
I did not. Okay, because I've seen you. I'm not creepy. I just know a lot about people, and it's alarming. But
Okay.
I saw you. Okay, so we did that group, that film group, whatever.
Yeah.
And shout out to Actors Playground. It was
Yeah.
fun. And
Shout out
then
putting that together because that's really cool of her.
it was really cool. It was a
Yeah.
bunch of actors, and we're just working on our craft, and we're filming stuff. And I thought, yeah, this group's cool.
Yeah.
But I saw you after that in the Toronto Fringe, and I'm like, he sings it like he performs on stage. I was just, and then I'm fangirling you after the show. I'm like, oh my God, Daniel, hi, do you remember me? We did something together, and it was very awkward for me, but you were so good, and you won an award.
Thank you. Yeah. So, because I mean, I always liked to sing, but I just didn't have a family that was. I was about to say I didn't have a family that was supportive of it. My family is very supportive, and I'm very lucky. And I wake up every morning and count my blessings of how lucky I am with that. And they are.
Say that it's a lie if I get it. I respect that.
That being said, I was talking about this with my dad last week. I went on a walk with a friend who isn't in the industry at all. And it's so funny how people who aren't in the arts industry don't really know how to talk about it. They think they know how to talk about it because they watch movies or because they, one of the beautiful things about actors is that because actors are revealing these very deep parts of themselves, we all feel like we know who they are. So we feel like we know how to talk to them or how to talk about it. But a lot of people who don't know the industry, don't have experience with it, don't know how to talk about it. So my family was really supportive, but they didn't know how to be supportive. They didn't realize that by being overly critical of a lot of these things doesn't actually help. So I always liked to sing, and they just weren't supportive in the right way for that. First time I sang in front of people was the Grade 8 musical at Associated.
I thought you were in that. Okay, because I had to see that because Jamie and my younger brother Adam were in it too, and I'm like, oh,
yeah. And it was Oliver Twist, and that was a really interesting experience because so I was cast as Oliver because in Grade 8 I was the last boy to have my voice drop. So I was seriously that like thing, but like I didn't know what it was thing, but I just had this high voice and nothing had dropped yet. So I walked into that audition room and sang, and they were like, "Oh, thank God," because they were going to cast a girl and just dress her up like a boy.
Wait, so this was Grade 8? I thought you guys did it in high school as well. When did I see this?
That's coming. That's coming. So I didn't do the one in high school.
Oh, directed by Brian Lee, my cousin, the Tony winner.
Is Brian Lee your cousin?
Yeah.
Brian Lee's a cool dude. He really is. He's a nice guy. But yeah, so I did that, and I was made very self-conscious of my singing voice from some of the people on the cast. I mean, it's Grade 8. People like to, and I was, to say I wasn't part of the popular crowd is an understatement. And so I was just made to feel like very self-conscious about during like one of the last dress rehearsals before we opened, my voice cracked for the first time, like on stage, like during Where Is Love. And it was even more like traumatizing because there was a girl that I had a big crush on and it's so actually funny. Do you know Bryna Weiss?
No.
She studies at LB with Lewis. If she's watching this, she's a very good friend of mine, and we laugh about it to this day. But she like knew that I had a crush on her, and I felt super embarrassed. So I swore off musical theater. I swore off singing. After that show, I didn't do theater again. I didn't sing again for years. And I didn't express it at home because I was just made to feel so self-conscious about it. And then I did the talent show in grade 11. I can't even remember how I got involved in that. And I was like, oh yeah, I do like to sing. I do. And then I asked my friend what in the next year, I was like, maybe I'll do the musical. What show are you doing? And they were like, oh, we're doing a production of Oliver Twist. And I was like, fuck that. No way. I'm out skis. Like, absolutely not. So again, I worked off and then went to university and tried doing a bunch of things and failed at a bunch of different things. And then found my way back to singing and found my way into the theater really for the first time. And that kind of just ran with it.
I love how you kind of went away but came back to it. It's your calling. You couldn't deny it. That's I think your sister just joined. Oh my God, be cool. Be cool.
It's okay. She's the best. I fanboyed Karp once when he was just hanging out making passes. That's true. I fanboyed David Cross as well during that time. So the film. But yeah, it's so
But you
interesting.
know what? That grade 8 play is messed up, okay? Because my sister, we went away for a week. I don't remember why. I think we went away. She came back and her part was given away, and she was Fagin or something like that. She's like the whatever. That's Fagin, right? The
Yeah.
person that does that pick a pocket song.
Yeah, the pickpocket. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So she comes back and she goes, "No, you missed one rehearsal. You're out of the show." And
Hey man, theater's rough.
it
Theater's
was
you can't commit.
one rehearsal.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. That's I didn't
So
I,
pardon?
I didn't know that was happening. I was too busy, being a star. I didn't have the time or mental space to really, know what was happening below.
Everyone has their own story, right? This is Oliver just tore people apart. I was reminiscing. I don't know if you had to see this. Did
Okay.
you have to see B is for Bully? Did you have to watch that?
B is for bully.
This is what we did. I was in grade 5 at Cayman, and we put on a show called B is for Bully. And ironically, everyone who was in that show got bullied. It was about anti-bullying. It was so ridiculous.
That sounds about right for Associated. That sounds like quintessential Associated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. I don't know if we saw that.
I don't remember if they made all the school watch it, but I was talking about our Associated plays the other day.
Mhm.
And you know what? They try hard, I think, but I can't imagine. I mean, I don't have kids right now, but I can't imagine watching that because it must have been so bad as a parent. The mics aren't working, the sound's bad, no one's talented. Honestly, maybe there's one, but and then your kid, honestly, my dad, I love him. He films everything. He would film the wrong person. So I have footage of other people performing because we all look like, okay, you're all a whiteout or a pencil or whatever in the show.
Yeah.
Like, it was just.
That's so funny. That sounds right. Because that would also be like what, like early mid 90s.
I don't want to age myself, but yes, probably.
But yeah, yeah. Anyways, going back to the other thing. So when I kind of ran with the whole musical theater thing, I really felt for the first time that I'd found like a community of people. Because when I left high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that whatever I did, I wanted to make sure that I truly loved it, not just like kind of liked it. Like I wanted to make sure that I wanted to do this for a long time, and I just had no idea what that was. And and shout out to the Queen's Theater Department. I mean, it's very different now than it was back then. And I think, nothing's perfect. There were things to improve, but it really did provide me with that space to kind of explore this, and really try it. And then, I that's so funny. I actually haven't thought about this in a while. I accidentally applied to a program in the States, but then ended up getting in and ended up going anyways, and did that musical theater thing and lived in the States for a few years. And then when I moved back to Toronto in like 2016, 2017, I'd never done film. I'd never been on screen. And it was just so apparent to me that Canada, and specifically Toronto, was more of a film and TV town than a theater town. And I was having certain conflicting feelings about theater and musical theater in general. So I was like, this is a good time to reset. This is a really good time to try something new. And I am really grateful that I did. And it's funny that actually Brittany Charlotte Smith is in the call right now because I met her in my first film acting class here. And she has easily been one of the people that has been so supportive and so kind. And I'm glad because I found the passion that I felt for theater that I was struggling to feel, I felt for screen. And I've been running with that kind of ever since.
You're so good. I love watching you in class. And I still remember, I have such a vivid memory of, I think it was a film, again, I know what you did. I don't know what it was. I think it was from Ozark. And you just whip out this accent. I'm like, what can't this kid do? Unbelievable. She's like, hey, yeah, I'm doing this accent now. I'm like, I'm not even going to try. I haven't warmed up and I'm going to embarrass myself. But
yeah, you got to warm up.
I'm just going to try and then it's going to sound real bad.
Yeah.
It was great. Oh.
But that show you saw me, it was the first time I'd sung on stage in literally probably 4 years. I hadn't sung in front of people. And I almost didn't do the show. I was really hesitant about it because I had certain preconceived notions about my voice and certain insecurities that I was working on. And, I didn't know if I wanted to get back into the theater world because I was working so hard on breaking certain habits that I'd built up from the theater world and from theater school. and I was really proud of the progress I'd made. But the piece when I read it was very, very compelling to me. And I also originally I joined that show. You saw because you saw the show, and so you know what it's about. It's called Every Silver Lining, which is written by Alison Wither and Laura Pitchinen. And I'm really happy that they're still developing the show because I think it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. But when I originally, no, I'm pretty sure I'm right in this. When we read through the script, they asked me if I'd be interested in reading for the part of Andrew, which is the brother. And kind of spoilers if anyone's here who hasn't seen the show, but the show is about Clara, who is Andrew's brother, the show is about how Andrew has cancer and him dealing with it, but it's from the perspective of Clara and all the pressures and the social pressures and the family pressures that she has to deal with trying to keep everyone together while they're dealing with Andrew's cancer, which is a really nice twist on that kind of perspective. So in the original version we read through, Andrew dies in the first 5 minutes. And so I was like, okay, this might be a good thing for me to do because it's small, low stakes, there's no pressure. It's a really small role. This is great. And then just as the show developed, it became a bigger role and a bigger part, which is woe is me. But it became more than I anticipated. And I'm so grateful for it because it turned into something that's very near and dear to my heart. But it's just funny how that kind of blew up.
Well, as you're saying it was a small role, I'm thinking, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Right, exactly. But that's how it started off, and that's why I signed on. And it's it's one of the few times since leaving theater school that I felt that same passion that I felt going into theater school, and that same passion for material that I feel when I'm working, or whether it's in class or on set or whatever. It's just it was a piece of theater and a piece of art that I felt compelled to be a part of in any way. So
it was well done. It was very well done. I like to try and support as many people as I can with the Fringe. And I knew Sarah. We did whatever show before. I always say we were in a crappy show together, and that's how I know people.
Yeah.
I never like my shows. I never like them. But yeah. I was watching, and then I see you, and I'm like, okay, in my head, everything has to be Disney. So it has to have a happy ending. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. That was powerful. Just gonna go cry in a corner now. Wasn't ready. I don't know what I expected based on the synopsis you provided, but yeah.
Yeah. It definitely has there are definitely ups and downs. It's definitely a roller coaster. I feel kind of bad because my family came to see the show, which was very kind of them. But I didn't really tell. I told my dad what it was about, but I didn't really tell him much because I didn't want to ruin it. But I didn't really think about it because literally the Fringe took place obviously in the summer, but earlier that year in January, my grandmother had passed away. In my family, my grandmother was very much the matriarch and the epicenter of our family. And we were, she was easily one of my best friends, and we were all very close to her. And, so we had gone through a lot with her, being in the hospital and, me working. I'd work at my restaurant job from 4 until 11. And then I'd leave at 11 to go to the hospital and be with her overnight until about 6 or 7 in the morning. And then I'd go home and sleep. And I would do that for 2 or 3 weeks. And I just when I was thinking about those scenes of Andrew in the hospital and what it was like to go through that, I was definitely thinking about when I was watching my grandmother, what that was like, what those intricacies was like, when those moments were and it was so cool. I hate that she wasn't able to sleep, but I got to talk to her in those moments. I was asking her these really hard, existential questions about life and death and her thought process. And, does she feel complete? Is she scared? Things, those questions, someone who was at, the steps of the gate. So I did all of that and put all of that stuff into my work, but I didn't really tell my dad about it. So when I saw him after the show, I've seen my dad cry twice. One of them was when my grandfather passed away, and the other one was after that show. And he was just a mess. And he was like, you didn't tell me why did, so I feel kind of bad, but yeah.
There was no disclaimer, so I understand that. But that is such an interesting conversation to have. I can't imagine. I don't even know what I would say. When you see in the movies, people have that perfect last line and then they then they die. I don't know what I would say on. It's such an interesting time to talk to someone, or that regret of not being able to be there. And that's so interesting to me too, because I'm thinking, haven't you always Like it's such a moment that we put so much pressure on. That being said, when you're there for someone at that time, it really is special. So it's conflicting thoughts.
I mean, it's interesting because I actually have a conversation about someone's final moments with a fellow actor a couple weeks ago. I was helping with a self-tape, and we actually kind of unpacked that final moment. And what we found when we were like looking at a couple of different movies and TV shows with those similar scenes, the thing to me, and I could be totally wrong with this, but the thing that makes those final moments so perfect is because there's nothing placed on it in the sense of like, they're not worried about what they have to do the next day. They're not worried about, what this person's going to think. They've got nothing to lose. And so it is just a pure, raw, unfiltered feeling and emotion. So it obviously depends on the writing, but it almost doesn't matter in those scenes what that final line is. It's the thought. I mean, as an actor, like, it's all thought work. It's the pure thought that's behind it. So it's almost like I can ask my grandmother those questions, and it didn't matter what she said. She was going to have my full attention. And she could have said, yeah, I'm really scared. Or she could have been like, no, I'm not scared at all. And in both cases, I would have been like, whoa.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think you're totally right. Those moments are very like rare, and they're very special and fleeting. And, I kind of felt bad that there was a part of me that was looking at it from the perspective of an actor. I was like 99% there with my grandmother, but then like 1% as an actor being like, take note. Well,
in a way, I almost feel as though I use it as a crutch when I'm going through a hard time. Okay, bottle this emotion, remember everything around you so you can replicate this when you have to do those things that you hate doing.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's totally fair. And I think that element of being an actor in your everyday life, because you gotta practice what you preach, and if you don't practice in your everyday, you're never going to be able to show up on the mark or show up on set or show up on stage or rehearsal and just be able to do it if it's not something that you've been organically practicing in your everyday life and implementing. And so I think that element of that kind of work is like not something, and again, going back to what we were saying before about how people who aren't in the industry don't really get it and don't know how to talk about it. They don't realize that rehearsal doesn't just mean, okay, now I'm going into a room to rehearse. It's like, no, I'm in line at a coffee shop, and the person in front of me is like taking a really long time, and now I'm getting agitated. And now I'm like, bouncing my foot up and down because I just want my fucking latte, and so it's just practicing mindfulness in those moments and practicing breathing in those moments and honing in on a specific thought. And I've definitely been that person that like I did this one time at a Starbucks. I was in line. It was like just after the morning rush. And that exact situation happened. This person went in and they were taking, and it wasn't just they were ordering a million things. It's like they didn't know what they wanted. It took them 20 minutes to get to the front of the line. And I think it was Louis C.K. who said this in a bit. If you don't know what you want for coffee within the 20 minutes that it took you to get the front of the line, I should be legally allowed to punch you in the face. I just should. So I had this moment, and I'm like festering and boiling, and I'm like breathing into it. And then I was like focusing on this one thought, and then I kind of blacked out for a second because I was just focusing on this thought. And all of a sudden I feel like a tap on my shoulder, and I come back, and the person was, so they're like, do you want to go to the front of the line? And like the person who was in front of me that I was aiming this at had already left the Starbucks. I was just like in this space, which is like, yay, I'm an artist, that's great. But I feel like I just needed to get my damn coffee.
That is so artistic. I don't know if
I'm like so hip. I'm so hip, man.
You are really cool. I'm like, that's why you have the hat. Like, guys, so
it's not that
it's how I live it.
Yeah.
It's not your hair. You're not having a bad hair day. It's fine.
Everything's perfect up there. It's great.
I find it fascinating to see people that I knew when they were younger, and just how I get such a weird sense of pride. And again, we weren't that close. But I see you and I see your work. And I think even for the monologue slam, you were doing something. I'm like, look at him go. I'm so proud of him. He's growing up so fast. Like, so.
You're such a sweetheart. You're so kind, Robyn. And I feel the same pride towards people that I know. And like, do you know Thomas Colford?
Oh my God. He's amazing.
He's amazing. And like, he kind of, took a leap of faith, and he moved to New York to do this acting program, and I'm like so proud of him. And like, you know, obviously I'm now supporting him more from a distance, but it's when I see stuff like that, or when I see like the skits that you post and, you know, the stuff you're working on, I'm like, yes, like they're putting themselves out there, because, you know, I think having the sound of mind security within yourself, to share those parts of yourself that you feel you're still working on, but allowing us to see you in your pure self in the middle of your process, in the middle of your journey, is like a lot harder to do than people recognize. And like I want to do that more, and I definitely get in my own way. I mean, you know, I don't post a lot. Like I used to post more, but I get really insecure about my singing and guitar playing. And so I haven't been posting videos about it. And I literally had a conversation with myself like 2 days ago in the shower. What the hell are you doing? Get back on it. Who cares? You know? So the feeling is mutual.
It's really, I love when I post something and then I lose followers, and like I honestly just stop looking. I'm like, I'm just gonna share. I'm the only person that posts, and they're like, I'm done with her, and it's so fun. Oh yeah, what's called Alexandra saying post more. Do you remember Alexandra from Alexandra Augustine?
Do I remember her?
You had a face, and I'm like, how do you not know? Do I have to spell it out for you? Like, she's awesome. Okay, everyone's awesome. I think everyone's awesome. And I'm like, oh, this is all caps. She means business. Please post more. I
just don't know if that has refreshed for me. Hold on. If I hit, is that going to take me out of the call?
I don't know.
Can I try it?
I mean, you can. Okay.
Okay, watch out.
And he never came back. Oh, wait, no, I didn't mean that. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Hi.
Nothing refreshed. I don't know. The chat's not working for me, so I don't see any chats, but that's fine.
Okay. It's just Alexandra laughing. That's fine. I respect that. Virtual laughs. I feel it.
Cool.
So you're going to post more is what I'm taking out of this. Okay, so you have some guitar, some singing, you have to post. I've been getting homework, so I feel as though I should provide homework for the people.
Yeah, right. No, honestly, like I think with respect to you posting and losing followers, I'm like, I think that's great. I think I love that. Like there's a wishes that was the case, because when I post something, depending on like, you know, the hashtags or whatever, not that I have an incredibly large following, I don't, but it's like I feel like I gain like 1 or 2 followers, or, you know, every now and then, and that I'm aware that sends me that dopamine hit. I'm like, oh God, I got that thing out of it. That's tangible, that I can see and value, or I put value on it for some reason. And I wish that wasn't an element. I wish that wasn't a reason to do it or not to do it. And so the fact you're telling me you lose followers, I'm like, yes, filter the haters out. Filter all of them out. They don't deserve your content. That's awesome. For me, that would be like, yes, I need to make more. That's amazing. So
I have to do that. I know I got one hate comment, and then I started writing like comedically back to her. It was very fun for me, because I thought, because you know, like I look them up, because I look everyone up, because that's what I do. And I'm like, who is this little teenage girl sitting at home writing negativity? Okay, can you check yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
And then I went all mom in my head, and I'm like, no, Robyn, she's not, you're just one little person. You're not going to change her outlook on life. So I'm just going to write some comedy. Thanks for watching and supporting the cause. Like,
Hey, the fact of the matter is, she did comment on, which does
she watched
your what's the word? It's not interaction. What's the word when it is? I mean, it is interaction, but there's a word for media engagement. It enhances your engagement when someone comments on your profile. So she is supporting you in a way. But that's so funny. Oh my God.
This is a great username. Act like a monster. Do you know this person?
I mean, maybe.
I really like that name. Okay.
For me, so I can't actually tell.
Have you ever acted like a monster? This is just curiosity now. I got distracted.
Have I ever acted like a monster?
I've never had that role.
Like, are we talking like otherworldly monster, or like a person who was a bad person that you would say they're a monster?
Oh, no, I don't need to go that deep with you. I just meant a monster in a film.
Oh, I did. Wait,
oh.
That's so funny. I did. There's a short film. Now I'm gonna botch the name of it. It's a longer title, but I'm short forming it to 4 days. It's a horror film that my friend Kenzie Yango shot. And it basically was like this was before the pandemic, but it's basically a virus outbreak and turns people into zombie-like creatures. And it's about this one woman who she's like trying to survive, but she got bit. So you see her like mid transformation, she's trying to hold on, and she ends up encountering like patient zero, like the one that's spreading it. And I was patient zero. So I had like 9 hours of makeup done and everything. Yeah.
Where can I watch this? Or will you share this, post it? I'm curious.
I know we went to a couple festivals. I don't know if it's available for public viewing. But there is a post on my Instagram, if you go to my feed, of a shot of me like talking to Kenzie, like talking about the scene, and I'm in like the full makeup and everything. So, and it's got it, if you go through it, you'll see it's like blue lit, so it's pretty easy to notice. But yeah, it was a lot. I mean, the 9.5 hours of makeup was rough at 3 a.m, but yeah.
That's a lot. That's like X-Men level. What's going, did you get full body? What's going on?
I got waist up.
Whoa.
Yeah, bald cap, waist up, contact lenses, yeah.
Wait, was this paid or was this unpaid?
This was unpaid.
Yeah, sounds right. Okay.
Yeah. No, but it wasn't
I'm joking.
It wasn't one of those unpaid gigs. This was like,
it's 9 hours of makeup. They know what they're doing, right?
This was like a friend, Kenzie, reached out to me and was like, hey man, we need someone to play this monster. Are you free this day, this time? We just need a body. There's no lines. And I was like, fuck yeah, be on set for a day, hang out with Kenzie. Like, this is awesome. I ended up knowing a couple of people on set and made some good connections that day. So I was happy to do it. Kenzie owed me dinner after that because he said it wouldn't take that long, and he didn't, like, he told me he needed a person to play a monster. He didn't tell me it would be almost 10 hours of makeup at a certain time in the morning. So he felt kind of bad after that, but I was happy to help out, and the film looks great and the footage looks great. So it wasn't one of those gigs where I felt I was taken advantage of.
That's always good. Alexandra pointed out, at least it was only waist up. It doesn't affect you going to the washroom. That's a good point.
That's fair.
That would be bad.
That would be bad.
Have you read about these Marvel, like the superheroes, their costumes are apparently terrible. They're apparently super uncomfortable. And that is shocking to me because they're these huge action figures. They're getting paid so much money, and they can't really, they're restricted. That bothers me.
Yeah, but I found that about, like, I don't know, like you see all these spy movies where they're wearing like a suit and tie and they're doing, they come into a fight scene. And I'm like, I've worn a lot of suits, Jew boy going to synagogue. But I've worn
#Shul.
Those are not comfortable. That is not something that I would want to, like, that is not something that I would want to do kung fu in. That is not something I would want to jump from a ceiling in. It's just the most, like, I can't imagine they'd be, supportive or comfortable or tactical in any way, shape, or form. That doesn't surprise. I didn't know that, but that doesn't surprise me.
I appreciate the women in the high heels and like those dresses, and yet they have a million guns on them. Like, yeah, they were hiding everywhere. How did you not know?
I would think like there's like, well, as you're walking, it's like when you have change in your pocket, and every time you take a step, there's like a little jingle jangle. So when they have like the dress on, you can see like if you can see one of their legs, that means all their guns and weapons are on the other leg, and they're not like clanking at all. Like, that's crazy.
And it's still very tight to the body, and I'm like, look at this movie magic.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I disagree. I'm really upset that the chat's not working for me. That's unfortunate, but that's fine.
Oh, they're just talking. Honestly, it's a lot of negativity. You don't have a lot of people that like you. I've never gotten more positive feedback. I posted everyone, Daniel, I love Daniel. I'm so excited. I'm like, cool. Yeah, he's okay. I'm like, whatever. I mean, no, you're awesome. But it was so exciting. And also the people that know you, that I know from other places, I'm like, Daniel, you get around, not in a weird way, just in a good way. I know. It can be weird, I guess.
Wait,
I don't know.
What do you mean?
Well, I knew someone from like random, I audition for anything. I have a serious problem. So it was like some random community theater I did in Scarborough. They were reaching like, Daniel's awesome. I'm like, oh yeah. How do you know? I don't know how you know him. Oh my gosh. I think her name is pronounced Avra I think it's Avra. She's very nice. Do you know her?
That's crazy.
She was we did like this 8-hour audition for Cabaret together. It was intense. I love auditioning for them. Scarborough Music Theater, shout out. Yeah. I'm okay not getting anything because their auditions are so fun. Legitimately, they're the best people. I will always audition for them. I have always auditioned for them. Will I book something? I don't know. But I'm okay with just meeting people like Avra that knows you. I'm very excited.
Abra's really nice. We met because I was when I first went back to Canada, I was just looking to do anything like art related, just anything in theater, any like literally anything. Because I didn't do theater until after I left Toronto, and then I knew the American market more so than I knew the Canadian market. So I was like, fuck it, do anything. And so I got involved with this group called Unsung Heroes, which I think they do some stuff. I didn't end up doing the show with them. I had to pull out of it because when so the group was created by Neil Dlin, and his brother Richard Dlin was my high school math teacher, and he was the teacher that
No, wait. I did not know this because my sister-in-law is friends with Neil Dlin and they were at the wedding. But Mr. Dlin is, why did I not piece that together? Okay.
I don't know
Common last name.
There's a lot of people with the last name Dlin walking around.
That's amazing. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was what? Okay. As you were.
Yeah. So I got in touch with Mr. Dlin because I knew that he was helping Chat with their musical. They were doing Beauty and the Beast that year. So
yes, I know. That's the year we did a fake musical. I was not upset.
What do you mean a fake musical?
Well, I think some people in our grade wrote a musical, and that's what they were performing for our grade 12. And then the other grade 12s were doing My Dream of Beauty and the Beast. And I'm like, you know what? That's why I wanted to go to Chat, and I'm stuck at Charles, and I was angry.
That musical was really good. I saw that.
Yeah, fine. But it wasn't Beauty and the Beast. So what do you want? What do you want from me? Yeah. Oh, yes. Was it called Libel in the Bible?
Libel in the Bible.
Yeah, fine. It wasn't bad, but it's not Beauty and the Beast, okay? I want that, like, I wanted the chance to audition, okay? That's all I'm asking.
Fair enough. But yeah, I reached out to Richard Dlin and I was like, hey, like, I'm in town and I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. Do you need any help with the school musical? I just got back from theater school. And he was like, yeah, come on in. So he and I, like, you know, we met up for coffee and told me that his brother was doing this fundraising concert benefit thing, and I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. So I auditioned, but I was also like bartending downtown, and this was at a point where it's like, keep in mind, I just came from theater school, like I know how to be in rehearsal. I personally do not need 6 months 5 days a week of rehearsal to put on a show. I don't. I finished a gig where I put on a full production musical in a week and a half, so like I don't need that. So I told them, I was like, look, my schedule's pretty tight as far as like work, because I'm trying to make money. I just moved back to Canada, trying to move downtown. So I can do this show, but I can't come like 5 days a week. I can't come, you know, even 4 days a week. It's got to be like specific when my time is. And they were like, oh yeah, of course. And just, you know, in true theater fashion, it didn't end up that way. And, you know, I'm not saying that it was wrong of them to have more rehearsal. I think it was absolutely perfect for them to have more rehearsal. I personally just couldn't meet the obligation. And so it wasn't fair to them because I had to consistently miss rehearsal, and that wasn't fair to all the other people that were showing up. So I pulled out. Not because I didn't want to do it. I very much wanted to do it. I loved those people, and I loved, we were going to do some cool stuff, and I'm jealous that I wasn't able to be a part of it, but I just couldn't meet that commitment. That's just not where I was at. And they all understood. And I've gone to see a couple of the shows since. But why are we talking about this again? I can't remember.
Oh no, I was saying how you met Abra, and then you you met her. I'm assuming you met her in that. That was
Abra was the music director of that, and she, you know, we met up for lunch a bunch of times downtown, and she was so supportive of me and what I was doing. And you know, a lot of the people that do the show are very passionate about theater and very passionate about music, but don't have a lot of like music theory or music knowledge. And so she pulled me aside one day, and she was just happy that like. She was happy, like, yes, I'm happy that we have another person here who like knows how to approach music and knows how to like tackle this material. So we kind of bonded over that, and we like, I don't know, there's people who are theater nerds in the sense that like their favorite musical is Rent, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm not a big fan of Rent. But then there are people that it's like, oh, my favorite musical is this musical that performed one time like 14 years ago and only had like 2 performances. And I'm like, oh my God, I love that musical too. So we were able to like geek out on that like slightly deeper level, which was really nice.
I love that so much. And I find I love what you're saying. You can put them, I don't know what it is, and I don't understand. And this is a huge problem I have with community theater. Like, just learn your stuff, come in, and let's put on a show. Like, let's take a couple weeks, and then let's just do it. And I have a really hard time realizing, no, Robyn, not everyone is obsessed and just wants to, like, not everyone has that, either that drive or that, like, they don't have the time, or they just don't care as much as you do. Maybe I shouldn't do community theater.
No, it's like, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of when you're doing stuff like that, I mean, I think community theater is amazing. Some of the best shows I've seen have been like student or theater or community theater productions. So I will never, ever knock, theater or community theater. I mean, technically Fringe is community theater.
You're right.
And some beautiful stuff has come out of that. But I think it's just, you have to have self-awareness, because you do have a mixture of people doing it. It's not like, when I was coming out of theater school and I'm living in New York, and I know when I work on a show, every single person there is trying to do this professionally. So that already just puts you in a certain place mentally, and like how we operate in this space. Whereas like a lot of people, like, they're doing theater so that they don't have to worry about their finance job, which is great. I think that's a beautiful thing that they're using it as an escape, but you can't expect them to do it for the same reasons that you're doing it for. And so if you go in, you start getting mad at people for not having the same objective and drive from the same source that you do, it's going to ruin it for you. It's going to ruin it.
I know. I don't even know if it's mad. I think it's just, for me, it was the longest time. It was a lack of understanding of what, first off, like, I've done Bye Bye Birdie 4 times. Okay. I don't know why they're always putting it on. I know it. How do people not know this music how do you not know the telephone hour? I know every single, like, I know the 4 different components. I could be any, just don't, for me, this is just confusing.
Do a one-woman show at Bye Bye Birdie and prove that you.
I will totally do that.
Yeah, that should be your next Instagram Live.
That would actually be very entertaining. Instagram Live is a bit of a challenge, but I love this idea, and I'm writing it down after this. But that whole premise of how I just don't understand how people don't know certain things.
Yeah. Because
it's some they're pretty iconic. Maybe not even Bye Bye Birdie. Maybe even Fiddler on the Roof. How do you not know tradition?
Yeah. Like you've heard before. Like something.
Yeah. But that's also me just realizing, okay, but also I hate when people are there that don't want to be there. That's what it is. And they're forced, or they feel that they should be there. And that's when I get annoyed. But when I find that group that wants to do it, so I was doing a lot of those confidential musical theater projects for a bit, and that was like musical theater improv, whatever. And that was just, we all wanted to be there. We just performed the show one night, and it was so magical because everyone took the time. They learned their bit, and you just put on a show. And I love working with those kind of people that have that same passion. Yeah. That being said, it could still be in community theater. It's just finding the right group, but it's those people of, I don't want to be here. I'm just on my phone. I guess I'll learn it right before the show. And that's that attitude that I just.
Yeah. It sucks, especially when you either in that community theater show or like in your own professional life, when you take it so seriously, when you put your heart and soul into it. I mean, I think it's true of everything, not just theater. You worked a finance job and you put your heart and soul into what you were doing, and you were on a team of other people who didn't put their heart and soul into it, it would become increasingly more difficult for you to continue performing at that level and to continue giving that part of yourself over to that, because that isn't reinforced by other people behaving the same way. It's like, I feel like when people behave in a certain way in general, it gives other people subconscious permission to do the same. And so if we're mean to each other, that says that that's an acceptable way to treat each other. And when we're nice to each other, it opens the door and allows people permission to do the same. And so it becomes harder to put yourself on the line to do it, to try and set that example consistently when other people clearly aren't looking for that. It just becomes harder and harder.
I think what's also interesting, I don't know how, but I feel as though every show I've done, there's some kind of drama. And the drama can vary in degrees of, I don't understand this, to, whoa, that's a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Is it just because we're actors, artists, or is it just life? That's just people, and there's always something going on. I don't know, but.
I think it's both, but I think anytime you take people, I think specifically with actors too, because I think actors do either have the ability to or are more courageous in having more primal emotions and expressing them than the average person does. But I think if you take people and put them in an intense setting, whatever that setting is, whether it's rehearsal for a musical or a deserted island because they're trapped, or put them in I think a perfect example is I work a restaurant bartending job. You take a bunch of people as servers and bartenders and slap them at 6:30, 7 o'clock p.m. in the middle of the rush. Intense things are going to happen because they're in an intense environment. And so I think part of it is an egotistical based thing. And I think, when people are doing these scenes and revealing parts of themselves to each other and being open and honest, it's easier to fall in love with that part of that person. because it's so shiningly brilliant that they're allowing you to see that part of themselves. So that makes sense to me. But I think it also makes sense that if you put people in that environment, just intense things are going to happen regardless. And so it's up to us to kind of have that wherewithal and that self-awareness to go, okay, how much of this am I going to be a part of? How much am I going to walk away from?
Yeah. I hate that story of like people made fun, like that Oliver story that you were saying and your voice cracked. And I thought, you know what? Everyone's putting themselves, I remember there would be people in certain shows I would do and they would make fun of how other people are acting, or I should have gotten this role, and that kind of animosity. And that's just so negative. You didn't get the role. This is your role, and do it, because it just brings such a, I can't think of the word other than negative, and I've used it and that's redundant, but it's just a downer, honestly. Okay. It's a downer.
It
You
is.
didn't get it. Either quit the show, you're here, or do the role you have. And that just makes me, that being said, I know I've definitely brought that kind of anger sometimes. And then I have to check myself. I'm like, Robyn, you're in this show. Okay. You didn't get that role. And yes, in your head, you could probably do it better, but I guarantee you did a shitty audition. I'm really bad at auditioning, like 100%. Terrible at auditioning. I will choose the worst song and the worst monologue every time.
What's your go-to song for auditioning?
I don't. I literally change it every time because that's what I do. Because in my head, like, it worked for this one, or I'll choose like a really inappropriate song that doesn't match the genre at all. And I'm like, one time I did get it right. I actually got a compliment. And then I get a call back, but I didn't book it. And then I was like, I don't want to be in the chorus, that kind of attitude. But at least I knew I didn't want to be in the chorus, and I didn't take the course and just be bitter. So I was proud of myself, but also I probably should have just done the course.
What was the show? What did you audition with?
Oh, it was, what's it called? That, it was the producers. It was the producers, and it was, so it's Mel Brooks. So I just did a Young Frankenstein one. And like, thank you for doing the same. I'm like, yeah, what else would I do? That was the only obvious one to me. I just finished Young Frankenstein. I know this show. I'm obviously going to do a song from Young Frankenstein. I'm like, it wasn't so obvious to people. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought you would have heard this like 8 times already because it's the same accent too. But okay.
That's so.
Yeah. That was like the best moment I've had. And that was not even getting the role. It was, I chose the right song.
Great, but that's a form of validation you need. I mean, like, I think it is important, especially like when you're auditioning for a musical, to like audition, like be aware of what the material is and what the story is you're telling, and you know, the choice in song and monologue isn't necessarily to show you're a good actor, but it's to show you have an awareness of that kind of material. That being said, I have one caveat. I would say that the audition that I did that changed my life the most, as far as like musical theater, I 100% auditioned with the wrong kind of song, and I just didn't know any better at the time. So you never know. Well,
I feel as though the song you chose, you can still sound, they still hear your voice, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, you want to show that you can sing, but like this per specific example, I auditioned, this was back at Queens when I was first getting into musical theater, like really getting into it. I auditioned for a production of Gypsy.
Oh my God.
I knew nothing about, nothing. I didn't know the story. I didn't know the style of music. I had never heard any song from Gypsy before, ever. And I found out about it because I had just that summer, I did a production of Next to Normal in Kingston.
That's a powerful one.
Yeah. And I was very happy to do that role, and I learned a lot on that show. But I didn't know anything about musical theater. I knew of Next to Normal because that was a song that, that show is something that my friend introduced me to, because they were trying to convince me that I should go into singing, and I was self-conscious about my higher voice. And they were like, well, listen to this guy who was nominated for a Tony for his high voice in this, and it was Aaron Tveit singing I'm Alive. They sent me the cast recording. I was like, oh, that's like dope. Okay, cool. So I knew about that. But other than that show, I didn't know the only theater I knew, Rent was a thing. I knew Wicked was a thing. I knew Avenue Q was a thing. That's it. I knew nothing else.
Please tell me you did a song from Avenue Q for Gypsy.
No, I did a song from Next to Normal from Gypsy. Basically what happened was after Next to Normal, there was a teacher at Queens who I hadn't taken class with, but I knew of her, and I just hadn't taken her class yet. And she kind of like approached me after the show and was like, is this what you want to do? And I didn't know at that point, because I was also considering going into theater tech. I was actually building sets for a couple other shows. And so I was like, I didn't know which one I wanted. And back then I didn't like know for sure that acting was my thing. And I was also like, hey, job security. I may want to do this other thing. And so I told her that, and she was like, totally fair. There's this school in New York called AMDA that you should take a look at if you think that this is what you want to do, because I think you'd be a good fit for it. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to like musical theater school in New York. I'm not going to do it. But then I was like, I started like thinking about it. I was like, okay, if this is something I want to do, I got to learn to dance. Like I could dance in the sense that I had a good awareness of my body and movement, but I knew no technique whatsoever. So I went down to the Kingston School of Dance on a friend's recommendation, and I spoke to the guy there, and basically told him my story. Like, this is like, I want to like learn how to dance. I'm like interested in doing this. And as I was leaving, he goes, oh, so you do sing and act, right? And I go, yeah. And he goes, we're doing a production of Gypsy. We're auditioning downtown later. You should come by. There's a role that's perfect for you. And again, I didn't know what he was talking about. I was like, I don't know. And it also like, the production of Gypsy overlapped with another student production that student production of Queen's Musical Theater was doing, Sweeney Todd, and I wanted to audition for that. So I was like, I'm not sure, whatever. And so I went for coffee with my friend Jessica, who was like a Kingston local and like did theater and music searching. She's a brilliant opera singer. And I told her the story, and she looks at me, she goes, are you fucked? Go! And I was like, I don't want to go. She's like, shut up, go. And it was like a really good company with like a lot of money behind it. And I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, Jess, I don't have any, what do I sing? And she goes, you just did Next to Normal, go. So I went home, and the only sheet music I had was I'm Alive. I'm like, great. I know nothing. I'm just going to show that I can sing. So I went down to the theater, and there was like a lineup outside the theater door. There were like 200 people there. And I was like, I did not want to do this, whatever. So the guy, his name is Eben Gage. He came out to look at all the people, and he saw me. He goes, oh, you came. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, Gregory, come. And everyone's like scouring at me because they're like waiting, and I'm just like being bumped to the front of the line. And so I go in, and this guy, Michael Catlin, dear friend of mine who helped me get into theater school, he was the director. I met him, and Eben was like, Michael, this is the guy that I told you that I like had the conversation with like earlier. He actually showed up. And I was like, hey, what's up, guys? And so he goes, great, what are you going to be doing for us? And I was like, I'm going to be doing I'm Alive from Next to Normal. And they all went, okay. Okay. So I handed the others. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. It's great. So I went to the accompanist, and I handed them my sheet music. And yeah, so we did that. And Michael then goes, oh, you were the son in Next to Normal that just happened last summer. And I was like, yeah, you saw that? He's like, yeah, I saw that twice. You were amazing. That was awesome. I was like, oh, dude, thank you so much. So, long story short, they ended up booking me for Tulsa, and I didn't know how to dance. So what ended up happening is I got booked for the role, and I started taking dance classes with Eben, but as a result of being in the show, because I wasn't getting paid, he then gave me private one-on-ones, in addition to rehearsals, and in addition to the other dance classes I was taking, he gave me one-on-ones to like learn the choreo for this big dance number. And yeah, that was the first time that I danced like really in front of people. And then fast forward a few months later, it was about like 8 or 9 months later, I was in the audition for AMDA, which I ended up applying to originally by accident, but then I decided to go through with it. And I did my song. I did I'm Alive, because it clearly worked for me. And then I did a monologue, and the guy behind the table, I didn't know this at the time, but Casey Colgan, I know he was in the chat earlier. He's amazing. I love Casey Colgan. He was the dance teacher. And he looks at my resume. He goes, oh, you played Tulsa in Gypsy. And I was like, oh, yeah, that was like my introduction to dance. That was awesome. And he goes, so did you do like the big Tulsa dance? I was like, I did. Yeah, it was my introduction to dance. So it was probably like a slightly more like beginner version of it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. He goes, great, can I see the Tulsa dance? And I froze because I didn't remember it 9 months later, but I don't want to be like, oh no, you can't see it. So I tried to think of like a way to get out of it. So I was like, oh, I don't really like remember it. He goes, oh, that's okay, just do whatever you remember. I just want to see like you like get a sense of like your body movement. I was like, oh, okay. Well, the song is so heavily, like the dance is so heavily intertwined with the song, and I don't have the sheet music, and I'm fucking stupid because these are guys from New York. Everyone knows All I Need Is the Girl. Every accompanist in New York has played All I Need Is the Girl 50 times a day during every audition. Well, obviously, the accompanist, Chris Stevens, was like, oh, I know it, take it from bar 72, and it just starts going on. I was like, fuck, here we go. Here we go. So I ended up doing, I'm pretty sure I closed my eyes at the beginning, just be like, just please God, let something come out. And I think I remembered more than I thought. So I started doing stuff. And then I stopped after a while because I couldn't remember anymore. But that ended up, that dance, and I spoke to my teachers afterwards, that dance got me my scholarship into school, which allowed me financially to go to that school. And it all happened because I sang the wrong song at the right audition. So.
Oh, I got chills from that story. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I love that story.
So there's all these rules about do's and don'ts, but then fuck it.
So everyone is going to do next to normal now because of you.
Yeah.
Well, work for Daniel. I guess I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be my.
Next to Normal is a beautiful show, and I honestly am surprised that more people don't know about it. Like, it's one of the few musicals that actually won a Pulitzer Prize. And, you know, I think that I think that musical should be as well known as mega musicals like Rent and Wicked and Miss Saigon and Phantom.
So powerful, and it just addresses so many issues. And I honestly wonder if it's just hard for people to watch some of that, because for me, sometimes I just want to go to a musical and leave happy. I don't know if you leave and you just have a smile on your face.
Yeah.
You feel affected, but I don't think you go, oh yeah, that was next to normal. Some foot stomping music there.
Yeah. I mean, there are some bangers.
There are actually. I'm thinking of that analyst or that psychoanalyst. I can't remember the name.
Yeah,
but that's a funny one. The doctor one. Yeah, that was funny.
Bangers in that show. But yeah, it definitely is a specific type of theater. And if you're the type of person that goes to a theater to escape, not the show for you. Like, if you go to the theater to see big Broadway numbers, like show-stopping dance sequences, not the show for you. You know, but then again, like, neither is Dear Evan Hansen, and look at like what happened with Dear Evan Hansen, and that addresses a wide variety of, you know, hard-hitting topics, and it's Dear Evan Hansen. So, but
That's true.
Yeah. So I don't know. And I just say break them. Who cares?
I love that you did Gypsy, because that show to me, I love that show, and I was so grateful that that was an odd one that I came across later in life, and I was like, for me, I have to be Gypsy, like, or Louise, whatever. And it's such a weird feeling to be like, I want to do that striptease song, and I can't explain. I'm like, I just love everything behind it. This one song, and she transforms into it. Like that concept was fascinating to me. It's almost like an extreme makeover in a song, and I just loved it. And it's so weird because I see this mom, and it's such a weird dream role to want to be this overbearing mom, but that role is so well done. I just don't know why. I really just hate the ending. I feel as though it doesn't fit. I don't know how you could end it better. I just don't.
So that the ending to that show is this is how I feel about the ending to Rent. It's like, it was Broadway-ized in the sense that, like, oh, okay, we got to make it family friendly. We got to make it, you know, we got to have them feeling good at the end. But I'm pretty sure, like, in reality, like, they didn't, like, the mother and daughter hated each other. So it's like, they just made it so that it could have a feel-good moment at the end, even though it doesn't really make.
I think that's what happens, right? And I leave, and I think I'm just confused. Or even after performing it, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel, because there was, again, some fun songs, some moments, and you're like, whoa, powerful. But then otherwise, I don't know what is settled. What's the ending to, like? Why did I watch this show? Is something.
Yeah, and it's sort of, the end sort of does, like, it does sort of take away from the message of the show and from the themes that are talked about, as far as, like, what are you willing to give up to succeed? What are you willing to sacrifice? And at the end of the day, she was living vicariously through her daughter. And the whole point is to show the terrible consequences as a result of that. But if she just forgives you at the end, it kind of takes away from that from that kind of like warning, like this is a like heed the warning, and that's like a very that's an important style of storytelling to tell. You know, some are to tell the story, and some are to be like, here's a warning, here's a fable, and that's what this is. It should be a fable, but it's not because they end up fine.
I don't even know if they end up or it just ends. Is
Yeah,
how I'm like,
of.
yeah, she says that tough speech to her mother, and then it ends, or she has that big Mama Rose, look at my song, and
Yeah, everything's
then
coming up rose. Yeah,
yeah, I like my version better. And
better too. But just so you know, don't feel bad about wanting to do that striptease song. I want to do that striptease song. Everyone wants to do that.
it's so I'm like but you know what? Honestly, here's the problem. We performed it in a church, so I had mixed feelings. I mean, I'm Jewish, right? Like we're Jewish, whatever. But like,
Jewish church.
so did I? I don't think I offended our God. Sorry, Hashem. Slicha.
There you go.
Wait, do you speak Hebrew?
באמת, אני ישראלי.
טוב מאוד. יופי טופי.
I don't speak fluent Hebrew anymore. My Hebrew used to be a lot better.
Do you put it on your resume?
I do.
Yeah.
Because I have enough Hebrew that I can be somewhat conversational with it. And if I needed to learn Hebrew for the purposes of a role, I absolutely could. Between, you know, my family which is Israeli, and my sister who lives in Israel, and I lived in Israel for a couple of months volunteering, and so I learned more doing that than at, you know, Hebrew school. But yeah.
I mean, no, I really appreciated my education. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's definitely on my resume. I don't know if it's gotten me any work yet. I think it's gotten me in a couple of doors, but I don't know if I've booked it.
I was fascinated. Someone read one of the casting directors I was talking to. She goes, "Oh, so I see you read. You can speak Hebrew." I'm like, "Oh my God, your resume." I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't think. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
one of these days, we're gonna book like a Hebrew speaking role.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. I saw Sacha Baron Cohen did this. I think I was late to the game watching when he was a spy. I don't know if you've seen that series. It was incredible, and I was so amazed that I understood everything. I don't know why, but it just. And I also love when the subtitles don't match what he's saying. I really appreciated that.
It's always fun. I mean, it's hard for me to watch stuff that's in Hebrew because a lot of the stuff that I would watch that's actually in Hebrew is like, it's like from Israel, and they speak when you have an Israeli speaking Hebrew, it is so fast that it's like, I'm sure I understood what you said. You just got to slow it down. But if you slow it down, then that's no longer natural to how Israelis and Hebrew speakers speak. So I do need the subtitles for a Hebrew speaking moment, not just because I can't keep up, you know, but if you slowed it down at like, you know, 70%, I could be like, yeah, I don't need subtitles anymore.
I feel like if you were living in Israel for a couple weeks, you would be able to pick up that pace though.
I think so. In the 2 months that I lived there a few years ago, honestly, the thing that made me learn Hebrew the most was talking to cab drivers.
They are, I mean, I think I have a distant relative that's a cab driver in Israel, and they're not only do they talk a lot, but they're so easy to talk to, and they're so understanding. I find like, okay, yes, I know, I understand how much English you are speaking, but then let's just get you doing more.
Yeah, but also the haggling with them is like you have to like take a cab by a meter, or you can just agree on a price. And a lot of the times it makes more sense to like take out the fixed price, because if it's a meter, they're going to go a really convoluted route to get that meter up. And so, you know, it'll be like 30 shekels. I'll be like, are you crazy? I took that trip like 4 times a week. It's easy 15. And then we like haggle. And already I'm now in this like speaking aggressive, you know, Hebrew mindset.
Do you add the hand? Do you go like, eh?
Yeah. You know, and so it's just like by the time we get in the car with an agreed price, I'm now relaxed and I'm in a Hebrew mindset. Now a conversation's really fucking easy. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. If I have to time my trip to Israel with you so I could get a good deal on a cab, because I've definitely, I hear them. I hear what they're saying when it's like my whole family went and they were just saying, let's rip them off. I'm like, and I wasn't brave enough to say.
Don't know. They think that we don't know. And I'm like, you guys don't understand that half the tourists that come to Israel are Jews and speak Hebrew. Like, you got to know that. But for the record, when you go to Israel and do that, don't contact me. I'll tell you to contact Ariella. Like, she'll do that.
Oh, yeah. Sure. I should contact her. She's a nice girl. I like your older sister. I don't really know the younger one. Okay. Okay.
She's all right. Ariella, she's great.
Did she join the army, by the way? I thought I saw that.
Yeah, so she when she moved after she moved to Israel, she was there for 2 or 3 years, and then she like took a break from school and was working, and then she enlisted, and she volunteered for the army, and she did like 2 years, but then she got promoted to a captain or an officer or something, and then she did an additional year, which was great because they ended up paying for her school for her undergrad after like,
Oh.
and yeah.
I can't imagine being in the army. I don't know why. This is one of the scarier things for me, the concept of being in the army. And I don't know why.
Well, I almost joined the Israeli army too. I was like literally like 10 feet away from it because before I found theater, that's what I wanted to do. The summer in between my first and second year of university, I went to Israel to volunteer for Magen David Adom. And
Me too.
for the people, actually, because the chat isn't working for me, I don't know if there's anyone in the call right now. But for anyone who doesn't know, Magen David Adom is basically the Israeli Red Cross.
Yeah.
So I volunteered there for a couple of months. And so because I was there, I was like, oh, I can finally see Ariella. I never get to see her because she's on the other side of the planet. And she was in the army at that time. So she had to go to her office and get something. But because it's a little weird because I'm not like an Israeli in the sense that I have a passport. But every time I go to Israel, they ask me where my passport is. Because I tell them that like my dad's Israeli, my family's Israeli, and my sister's there and everything. So I could have an Israeli passport and get citizenship. At the time, because of my age, if I had stayed in Israel for more than 3 months consecutively, they could have legally drafted me. And at that point, I can't remember the exact ruling, but basically if I had walked into that office, not that they would have known, but if I would have walked into that office, they could have been like, yoink, you're in the army now. So I waited outside for her to like get her stuff. But this is at a time when I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was feeling very, very lost in life. And I didn't really have any other alternatives at that point. So there was like a 10-minute window when I was like standing outside this building. And I was just like, I could just walk in and just do it. And this was something that I had considered previously. It's not like it was just in this moment. Like in my last 2 years of high school, I was considering not going to school and joining the Israeli army. That was something that was, seriously a consideration of mine. But before I was able to make a decision, my sister came out of the office and we went for lunch, and that was that. But it all, as far as like regrets that I have so far, I mean, joining the Israeli army is something that there is still a part of me that wishes I had done that. A part of me.
That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I always get bogged down in what if I did those decisions, right? Those moments when if you took this path, what would my life have been?
Yeah.
That is.
I mean,
I feel like you do well in the army. I don't know. I have faith in you for anything, but I just feel like you would do well.
I mean, honestly, now maybe, but back then, no fucking way. I would have gotten eaten alive. I'm alive today because I wasn't in the army. But I don't know. I mean, I also think if I had joined the army, there's no way I would have found like theater and music and acting. I wouldn't have. I'd be a very, very, very different person. And I'm not saying better or worse, just a different version of myself. There's a universe out there where Daniel joined the army and what happened with that. But yeah, I always. And I since then I've had mixed feelings about it because as much as I am Israeli and as much as I went to Jewish school, we have certain feelings about the state of the Jewish people and the state of Israel and the conflicts there. And since going to university and since experiencing, interacting with other people of different faiths, I now have more conflicting feelings about the situation there. Whereas back in the day, I was like, no, Israel is like right all the time, and I'm like, no, they're not.
That's funny. I'm still very much like, whatever, Israel's always right. But that's just, because I don't know if I've taken the time to look but that's just, I don't know, Israel's such a sensitive topic. And I'm like, I don't know, they're doing COVID right. They got vaccines, they might have a cure. Whatever they're doing. Yeah.
They beat the world in COVID. They're number one.
Yeah.
They did do that right. But as far as like, I don't always agree with Israel's actions. But
I don't know if I know enough to have an opinion. No, I think that's the problem. Where it's like a blind follow,
and I don't know as much as I should at this point, but back then it's like, I don't always agree with their actions, but I do always agree with their intention.
Mm-hmm.
Specific, like, and I agree more with their, you know, army tactics as opposed to their day-to-day government, like policy issues. Those are more convoluted. But as far as like the Israeli army and like what that came from and where it came from, like my grandfather fought in the Irgun. You know, he was in jail for fighting for the creation of Israel. So that's sort of embedded into my family. And I always felt like, back in high school, I felt like our existence as the Jewish people here in Canada was always threatened because the existence of the Jewish people in Israel was threatened. And I was like, well, if they can't even be safe, how the hell are we safe? So how am I able to live my peaceful life here? You know, and I always felt like I should do something. And so I think that was part of the reason that I ended up volunteering for the Israeli Red Cross, just to do something, you know.
I don't know about your experience. I forget where I was stationed with Magen David Adom, but I don't know how much I helped. I'm putting it out there.
Yeah, it depends. I was in Haifa. For those of you who don't know, that's like the most northern part of Israel. Very mountainous, and very a large elderly population. Very large elderly population. And I didn't do as much work as I would have wanted to have, or at least in the preconceived idea of what I'd be doing.
The training was so intense. That's why we had the training. It was nuts. And I thought, okay, every day I'm doing CPR. I got this.
Yeah. So I was actually one of the few people that I did CPR relatively consistently. I think it's because I was stationed in an elderly populated area. But I did CPR like 7 or 8 times throughout the whole thing. And there were situations where, you know, an old woman fell, but she was overweight. So we had to get her into that, like, you know, that emergency chair, and there were no elevators. So we had to like carry them down the stairs. So I'm glad I was there for that to help out. And not because of a male-female thing, but it's like I was, not that I'm a big guy, but I was bigger than the 2 women I was with. I just was. And so it's one thing to put someone into a chair. It's another thing to carry them down 4 flights of stairs. You know, so I don't know if I necessarily had an impact on the overall state of Israel, but it's
like you feel like you're giving back, you're helping out somehow. That's at least how I justified that in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, look, if you decide to, it's like if you decide to dedicate your time by going to a soup kitchen, you know, and helping feed homeless people, but no one's in line for food, that doesn't make the work you're doing any less valuable. You know?
But you know what's fascinating, and I took away the shift work, was when you get that night shift. And I never appreciated until then how those night shifts mess with you so much. And you get a night shift and then a day shift, and it's just something that unless you experience it, you take it for granted. All these people working night shifts, that messes with your body. And I'm so grateful for people that do that, because we need that now. I need that always, but it's hard.
Yeah, you listening, Justin Trudeau? We need that. We need people.
This became very political and religious, and like we should never talk about politics or religion. I'm like, oh God, I think we're doing it, but I'm also not hating this conversation. But also, I don't even know if anyone's watching anymore. Okay.
Shout out to all the nurses and first line responders. Just gonna put that out there.
Yeah, when in doubt, shout out. That sounded oddly funny, but I meant it seriously.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the days in Cayman, because I always hated this, because I don't, and if you were one of the people that did this, I apologize. But you know, we would get those announcements over the intercom a lot, and anytime there was like a fundraiser or whatever, they would, you know, they would go onto the intercom, you know, at lunch or during class, being like, "This is an announcement for whatever, you know, Darfur or Haiti or whatever we're raising money for," which is great. That's cool. I'm glad they're doing that. But while I went to Associated, my family did not have a lot of money. We just didn't. And I knew some of the people who were running these students that were running the campaign, and they did have a lot of money. So when they're on the intercom preaching at me, "Don't be greedy, give to the needy,"
that's why
I am like, you hypocrite. Like, I can't. You know?
That was
today because we don't have the money for it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was, no, I had to make, I just remembered this now. So I I had an issue with student council where I decided I had to be on it in high school. It was very healthy. So I became the program director in high school. All I know about that job is I had to make announcements. So I might have done an announcement like that in high school, and I apologize. Because I don't even know if I donated to the charities I was promoting.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I said, okay, did we just donate? And then it gets to a point. I think the problem is there are so many charities, and as young adults, teenagers, whatever, everyone has a different cause. So it's every other day, it's a new cause, and you want to be respectful of that cause. But also, okay, we're teenagers. How much money do we have? And also, these schools are expensive. Like, how much money do our parents?
With like $1.50, and I spent half of that on Reese's Pieces from the vending machine. So I got like 50 cents, bro. Like, I ain't got much. You know?
That 50 cents can feed 5 children in, I don't know.
The fact that that statement is actually probably true is very sad.
Yeah, I said that, and I'm like, that is true. That wasn't a joke. That got real.
That scene from Eurotrip when they get trapped in that middle of nowhere town, and they try and pull their money together, and they've got like $1.80 between them, and they're like, what can this get us? And the next scene is they've essentially bought a hotel. That's really unfortunate, but it's true.
I mean, that's the thing, and that's why I love my comedy, to kind of get those points across. It is very unfortunate. It's actually a little ridiculous to a point where it's just such an inequality, and one person bitching about equality isn't going to change anything, but it's kind of just keeping that conversation going.
Yeah, exactly. How do these lives with you normally go? Like, are we?
Oh my God, I was just going to ask. Like, I don't know how long. Normally, my husband shows me a sign if it's been an hour. I love you. You've been lagging like a little. He's going to hear that comment in a couple minutes, and it's fine. Our marriage is okay. But I don't know how long we've been talking for. Okay.
I don't have a problem with how long it's gone. I just don't know if I'm doing the thing that you wanted me to do by coming on here.
It was legitimately just a chat. I like talking to people. I enjoy. Oh. Oh wow! It's been an hour and a half. Oh. Wow. Okay, that might be the longest one. We got I don't even know if it was sidetracked. It's just kind of chat. See what's going on.
I think I just like talking, so.
I really enjoy talking to you, and I love the stories you have. And I know we didn't discuss Pokemon. I hope you're okay with that.
Oh God, Pokemon has that's all I did as a kid.
You gotta catch them all.
That's all I did. Pokemon.
I was gonna make you do the Pokemon rap. I didn't. I wanted to see without practice if you could do it. Okay.
No way. There's no version of this. I know
the part from Charmeleon. That's all I got.
Pikachu, Arbok, Raticate, Butterfree. Like, that's it. Like, I don't know anything else. It's been a while, but
do your Tulsa dance. Okay.
Yeah, right. I was that at the end of the show, like, I was watching the show, but then I was excited for like post-credit Poke Rap. Like, I was excited, and I would try and get the whole thing.
Yeah, you got to try it.
You got to try.
I'm going to lay it down. You join in. Charmeleon, Wartortle, Mewtwo, Tentacruel, Aerodactyl, Armanite, Slowpoke.
Pidgeot, Arbok. That's all!
That's all! Oh, that was lovely. And I was worried I was going to forget it.
That's so funny. It's actually been 20 years. Oh my
I can't forget it. I can't.
I
don't know the beginning. What's the beginning? I don't know. I'll look it up, but I didn't want to. I wanted to do it fresh.
That's so I'm like living. I'm living in this moment right now, like reminiscing and feeling nostalgic over the Poke Rap. That's hilarious.
And that's I want to be able to create something that people do 20 years from now that they're like, remember this? Let's talk about it. That is the biggest dream for me. It's not obviously not a Poke Rap that's been invented, Pokemon, but just something that would be me feeling like I contributed, and I don't. Like, that's my goal. That's my life goal as of today.
Play Pokemon? Like, is that something you did?
I watched them all, and I played the Game Boy. You have to have the yellow one because then Pikachu follows you. Mm-hmm. And there was this. I talk about this sketch all the time. It was so funny. They did Pokemon in real life, and so they had someone riding a bike in front of a random person, but it was from the side angle or behind, they only talk to you when you're right in front of them. Yeah. That's the only time they acknowledge you.
That's funny. Oh, wait, when their eyes meet? Yeah. That's...
And then even when they had the whole battle, and I think it was Metapod and Harden. That's all he could do. He just adds a shell.
Adds, like, puts on a jacket.
That is.
Yeah, he just puts on like another jacket.
It was great. I gotta find that again. I could use that laugh. Oh God.
That sketch, or you saw that sketch?
No, I saw it. He came up with this. It was a whole thing. It was so well done. And I thought I need to figure out how to do something like that. It was very well done. It was great. I don't know who the person is that I keep talking about the sketch, but it was well done.
But reach out to the section.
I mean, I probably will at some point. I sometimes have courageous moments, and otherwise I'm like, oh, they won't talk to me. Who am I? It's very.
Robyn.
Have you not seen my window chats?
Her window chats? She's Robyn. She's all the rage right now. like move over her. It's like, this is Robyn.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to end it on the poker rap. This is great. Thank you so much for doing this. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Oh, yeah. Good Shabbos, because it's the first time I can say that.
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Thanks for having me on. I know this was just kind of hanging out, but I don't know if anyone's in the call, don't know if anyone's in the chat or whatever, but it's been a lot of fun. Always like talking to you. You are a delight. All right. You have to post more so I can share and be excited for you. I'll get on. Okay. I appreciate that. All right. Well, have a great weekend. Thanks for the chat. Yeah, you too. All right. Bye. Bye.